Picture this. You're standing at a coffee shop counter. You know exactly what you want. A simple order, 3 words. But the moment the barista looks at you, something between your brain and your mouth just decides to take a little detour. Now, here's the thing most people don't know. That's not nervousness. That's not a lack of confidence. That is one of the most fascinating, most misunderstood things the human brain can do. Today, we're diving into stammering, what it is, why it happens, and why, I promise you, by the end of this video, you're going to look at it completely differently. Let's go. First things first, let's clear something up. You've probably heard 2 words used for this: stammering and stuttering. Same thing, different postcodes. British people say stammering, Americans say stuttering. If you're somewhere in the middle, either works, nobody's keeping score. So what actually happens when someone stammers? There are 3 main ways it shows up. First, repetitions, sounds or words that repeat. I want a coffee. The word is trying to get out. It just needs a moment. Second, prolongations, a sound that stretches longer than expected. Sorry, I'm late, like a song note that got held a beat too long. Third, blocks. This is the one that's hardest to see from the outside. The person knows exactly what they want to say, but for a moment, no sound comes out at all. They're not stuck for words. Their brain has the words. The connection between the brain and the mouth just hit a speed bump. And that right there is the most important thing to understand about stammering. It is not a thinking problem. It is not a confidence problem. It is a speech production problem. Very different things. Okay, the big one. What actually causes stammering? Scientists have been asking this for a long time, and the honest answer is, we know a lot, but not everything yet. Here's what the research does tell us. Inside your brain, there's a region called Broca's area. Think of it as the part of your brain that handles speech production, the department that prepares your words before they leave your mouth. In people who stammer, brain scans, MRI and PET scans specifically, show that this area works differently. It's not weaker. It's actually overactive in some ways, like an engine that's revving harder than it needs to. And speech, this thing we all take for granted, is actually incredibly complex under the hood. Your breathing, your vocal cords, your tongue, your lips, they all have to coordinate perfectly, in fractions of a second, every single time you speak. When that timing gets slightly off, that's when stammering happens. Now, stammering comes in a few different forms. Developmental stammering, the most common type. It usually appears in children between ages 2 and 5, when their language is developing faster than their speech muscles can keep up. Most kids grow out of it. Some don't, and that's where it becomes a lifelong journey. Neurogenic stammering. This one develops after a stroke or brain injury, when the communication pathways in the brain get disrupted. Psychogenic stammering, linked to severe emotional trauma. Rare, but it exists. For most people, and most of what we're covering today, we're talking about developmental stammering. Short answer, yes, genetics play a real role here. Scientists have actually identified specific genes linked to stammering: GNP-TAB, GNPTG, and NAGPA. These genes are involved in how your cells process and recycle certain proteins. If a parent stammers, their child has a higher likelihood of stammering too. But it's not a straight line, it's more of a predisposition, like how some families run to high blood pressure, but not every member gets it. One pattern that researchers have consistently found: stammering affects 4 times more males than females. Why exactly? Still being studied. Biology keeps its mysteries close. Let's talk about diet, and let's be upfront about this. There is no food or supplement that cures stammering. Anyone selling you that? Walk away. But diet can affect the conditions that influence stammering, and that matters. Caffeine increases anxiety and nervous system activation. And since anxiety is a known trigger, too much caffeine before high-pressure situations probably isn't your best friend. Okay, here is the moment most people came for. The question that genuinely stops people mid-thought when they first hear it. Why do people who stammer not stammer at all when they sing? Ed Sheeran stammers. We'll get to the full list in a moment. It's a remarkable one. But when Ed Sheeran sings, not a trace of it. How is that possible? Here's the science, explained simply. When you speak normally, your brain uses pathways primarily in the left hemisphere, specifically in and around that Broca's area we talked about earlier. And in people who stammer, those pathways have some disruption in their timing and coordination. But when you sing, your brain shifts to a completely different set of pathways. It recruits the right hemisphere, the side that handles melody, rhythm, and music. It's a different route to the same destination. And on that route, the disruptions aren't there. The words flow freely. This isn't just a curiosity. It's actually one of the most important clues researchers have into the nature of stammering, because it proves the brain can produce fluent speech. The fluency is in there. And this insight has shaped real therapy techniques, using rhythm, melody, and pacing to help people access smoother speech in everyday conversation. People who stammer also often report fewer difficulties when speaking in unison with someone else, using a slightly sing-song or rhythmic delivery, speaking with a different accent than their own. All variations of the same principle. Shift the pathway and the speech can change. That is not a trick. That is your brain being remarkably adaptable. Let's talk about some names you might recognize. King George VI, King of England, stammered his whole life, had to address an entire nation by radio during World War II, one of the most high-pressure moments imaginable. He did it. There's an Oscar-winning film about his journey, The King's Speech, Joe Biden. 46th President of the United States, stammered severely as a child, spent years working with a speech therapist, went on to hold the highest political office in the world. Ed Sheeran, one of the best-selling music artists in history, stammered as a child and has spoken openly about it. He's credited learning to rap along to Eminem tracks as one of the things that helped him develop fluency. Emily Blunt, award-winning actress, stammered as a child. A teacher encouraged her to try performing a scene in an accent, and she found that acting reduced her stammer significantly. She said it was the thing that changed her life. Tiger Woods, one of the greatest golfers of all time, stammered as a child and has spoken about how he worked through it. Samuel L. Jackson, one of the most recognizable voices in cinema, stammered as a child, has occasionally mentioned it still surfaces. What do all of these people have in common? They didn't overcome stammering by ignoring it. They worked with it, around it, through it. And many speech therapists have observed that people who stammer often become incredibly thoughtful communicators because they've had to think carefully about language in a way most people never do. The path was harder. The result speaks for itself. Here's something that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. Living with stammering isn't just about the moments of difficult speech. It's everything around it. Many people who stammer describe something called word substitution, where they become so skilled at swapping out a word they might stammer on for an easier one, in real time mid-sentence, that the people around them never even know. It works, but it's exhausting. Constantly editing yourself before the words even come out. There's also the avoidance, skipping phone calls when you can, choosing not to speak up in a meeting, letting someone else order at a restaurant, not because of fear of stammering itself, but because of how people sometimes react. The impatience, the finishing of sentences, the uncomfortable looks. So if there's one practical thing this video leaves you with, when someone takes a moment to get their words out, give them that moment. Don't finish their sentence. Don't look away awkwardly. Just be present. It costs nothing. And to the person speaking, it means more than you'd think. If this video helped you understand stammering even a little better, share it with someone. Because understanding something is how we stop fearing it. And stopping fear is usually where good things begin.
See you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe.